Twilight's Nightmare, Chapter 28, Part 3. It was a good thing that she tended to keep her current opponents between herself and other potential combatants. It was the only thing that saved her life from the blast. The practice paid off as the other unicorn who had gone outside of her flux area had suddenly blown up. The explosion left the area that he was in a gory mess of what resembled instant chunky salsa. The ground was pierced by spears of bone and blades of blood. The amount of liquid scattered around Candace letting her know that her flux defense had reduced the blades that had been heading towards her to harmless liquid. Candace didn't have the medical skills or spells to save his life, but she did have something that might keep him from dying until a medic arrived. Using her aura, she pressed against his whole body, carefully preventing any more blood from escaping him. It was only a stopgap. Still, it was the best that she could do with her limited remaining power. Her ever-so-grateful patient tilted his head and tried to impale her with his horn in the most ineffective attack that she had ever seen. Each attempt that he made was just exacerbating his wounds. He passed out shortly after.
0 opponents left. 2 thumbs of unicorn magic remaining, 1 thumb of Pegasus magic remaining. That was close.
It was then until she noticed that all the walls were suddenly lined with shadows, each door and window blocked. She had felt no magic, sensed nothing before it had just appeared. That alone marked it as either Luna's or Discord's work, and this was not Discord's style. Luna strode out from the shadows, advancing towards her. Inky lines of darkness trailed off of her, flowing and pulling around the room. She spared one glance for the wounded cultist. That was enough to cause the night guard carrying pouches of medical supplies to begin tending to him. Candace dropped her aura from him so the medic could do his job.
1 thumb remaining in each.
Candace noted her injuries and decided to ignore them for the moment. She looked up at Princess Luna, sat up straight, and saluted with her still stinging hoof.
Mission accomplished, I think.
She placed her hoof back on the ground, sitting in the attention stance. She let go of her battle meditation, and she noticed that she was breathing rather heavily from the whole ordeal. Her body's exhaustion and pain suddenly made themselves acutely known. With the shield of the battle meditation's detachment gone, she felt the emotional impact of the pony's deaths hit her. The sadness that she wasn't able to save all of them there. She rallied her pragmatism and insisted that every single one that was still alive wouldn't have Princess Luna act on them. More night guard appeared, perched around the edge of the room, and then one gobsmacked revealing light was semi-dragged into the room by Striker.
What in Celestia's name is she?
Light whispered to Strike. Much to Light's discomfort, Luna answered.
The same as she's always been, just no longer bound by my sister's chains.
She smiled, showing just a hint of fangs. Light fortunately only trembled for a moment under Luna's attention. The Princess of the Night in her full armored glory stopped right in front of Candace. For a long moment, Luna gazed at her. It was as intense as the desire was earlier, but there was something else.
What do you think?
Luna asked, looking around the gathered night guard. Striker answered. Can we keep her?
This looks positive so far.
Candace noted in her head. A night-chosen earth pony stepped out of the shadows next to Striker, making Light jump.
Will he remember to feed this one?
Candace smirked. She used nearly all of her remaining willpower not to fall over laughing. Only her hard breathing hid her humor.
Finally, a group of ponies that don't take every single thing with utmost seriousness. I could get used to this.
Although she still sat in the attentive position. Luna leaned in closer to Candace, her fanged smile looking equal parts pleased and hungry.
Then I think that we shall claim her.
She seemed to purr with menace. Candace just smiled.
She cannot be serious! Are you fucking kidding me? You use this as some sort of test?
She then froze, noticing that she just had to go with the Princess of the Night in a room full of her guard all on her own. All the night guard's eyes fixed on Light, and Striker face-oved. Candace looked at revealing Light. Tilting her head slightly and indicating that she had no issue with this whatsoever, she stated,
One that I passed, by the way. I would say Princess Luna has a pretty good grasp of my abilities, wouldn't you? Besides, it turned out far better for them this way than it would have if Princess Luna had to intervene. Her power would have just killed them all. I'm personally very grateful that she gave me this chance. Many innocent lives were saved this way.
Luna stroked a feather along Candace's back, a slight tingle of magic running along her spine. Her coat darkened as she blended them in with the night guard's normal colors. She forced herself not to react despite the pleasing sensation, still keeping her eyes on Light.
Yes, of course, saving ponies is the right thing to do.
Light stammered slightly, looking to Candace with concern for her well-being. By how Light's eyes were roving over Candace's body, she was clearly worried by the many wounds still seeping blood. She then bowed to Luna.
My apologies, Princess.
She finished, dropping back to formality. Luna waved her hoof, as if there was nothing to apologize for.
Run along now, little pony. Fetch my sister's guard to secure the site. We will be taking the prisoners ourselves.
Striker then led Light out of the building. Once Light was out of the building, Candace dropped down to her belly, the exhaustion finally getting to the point that it could no longer be hidden or fought. Luna looked down, assessing her. Her eyes went cold for a moment.
I I see no dire injury, yet I believe I shall aid you. You have a much more dire challenge to face now.
She lifted Candace in her cyan aura and her main reach for the open wounds.
Facing Celestia, or being accepted into your night guard?
Candace thought to herself. Even her own internal voice sounded fatigued. Candace could feel her blood being gripped again. This time, instead of slowing or trying to harm her, it dragged any contaminants from the wounds. Next, it gripped the flesh, pulling the wounds closed and then shifted. She could feel a complex transmutation effect as a line of blood altered, becoming a strip of blood-red substitute flesh sealing the wounds. A warmth started in her chest, and slowly the mild lightheadedness from a lack of energy faded.
There, now you might survive their rivalry. Oh, that answers my question. The Night Guard. Side note that magic would be so illegal if she wasn't a princess.
Candace mused in her mind. A voice that wasn't hers but sounded so similar responded in her mind.
You can say that again. I'm going to pass out now and say thank you for the lessons. They really helped.
Candace then let herself embrace unconsciousness. The last thing that she saw before the comforting embrace of sleep claimed her was Luna's eyes narrowing for a moment to Candace before she smiled evilly. Her night guard then promptly dragged Candace into the shadows. You gotta imagine Princess Celestia is gonna be very pissed when she realizes that one of her assets, one of her most valued assets, has gone to Luna's side. Now granted, it's not like they're going to the enemy, but still, that's gotta be a kick in the ass. Now let's get on to our ass-kicking donators. Top donators: TacoCat598, Peter Coulthard, J Tinman, Darkside, Gauntlet, and Only One Thing. Zar630, Strix, Raiden, Narwhals, Black Moonheart, Drake Lovedragon, Pastel Skies, Austin Roland, Crazy Killer 557, Stu Hex, Will, Dospo, Madman Stan, Delta Omega, Jack Hedge, RuneScythe9852, Leslie Prickett, Hunter Norman, Stephen Bingham, LineGod12, and many more fantastic people. Thank you all very much for watching this video, and live life to the fullest.